Seriously, a $130 coffee mug? Yes, we were crazy enough to spend our own money on this wacky little gadget, and no, this mug isn't fine china or a handmade masterpiece. It's just plain old stainless steel coated in ceramic. So let's talk about what drove us to do something so ludicrous and whether we regret it. Before we get started, this is a shameless plug, but we're super excited about the Coffee Journal, which is currently being crowdfunded on Indiegogo. It's a super versatile brew journal that doubles as a daily planner. The cover is a piece of art, and 5% of sales goes towards a project to protect the endangered Asian elephant. It's something we've been working on for a long time, and we need your support to bring it to life. So find more details in the description below. So here's how coffee goes down at the ARAMSE household. With me, I brew a cup, wait for it to cool down, and once it's at a good temperature, I start drinking. I then manage a few leisurely sips before I realize it's already cooler than I want it to be. So I then proceed to guzzle quicker and quicker to finish it before it goes cold. If you think about it, when drinking a cup of coffee, we only manage a few sips at that optimal temperature. The rest of the time, we're either getting scalded or racing to finish things before they become a tepid disappointment. With Namisha, things are a little different.
Okay, so this is a product that claims to allow you more time to enjoy your drink at the optimum temperature, and we're here to talk about whether it meets those claims. And the way we thought we'd do this is by walking you through how I put my Ember mug through the ringer every damn day. I'm on baby breakfast duty every morning, so unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, Raghunath brews the morning coffee and he has it ready for me pre-breakfast. It's waiting in my Ember at 8 a.m. And I almost always drink a milk-based coffee first thing in the morning. I'm also pretty distracted when my daughter eats, and so I managed to get in a few sips before leaving it on the table for another 20 minutes or so.
Anyway, while we wait for Namisha to finish feeding our daughter breakfast, let's talk about aesthetics. The Ember mug is well built and feels like a premium product. When you first pick it up, you immediately notice how weighty it is, and the matte texture is really nice to handle. We're not fans of the new metallic finishes, but the OG black and white looks slick. It's minimalistic and understated to the point where you'd start to think that it's just a nice looking mug before you see the frosty glow of the RGB LEDs slowly pulsing away. The charging coaster is also well made, but we do have some complaints, which we'll talk about a little later on.
Cool. So now that I'm done and covered in porridge, my Ember makes its way with me upstairs and hangs out on my dresser while I shower and change. I briefly forget about it, and then I open the door after showering to a pleasant surprise when I see that black beauty resting against the mirror. At this point, I squeeze in a few sips quickly. It totally throws you off the first time you return to your coffee 30 minutes later and still find it at the perfect temperature, as opposed to that lukewarm disappointment that you're used to guzzling down or having to pop in the microwave. But it's not all coffee utopia though, and in my case, one of the reasons is because we use unhomogenized milk. And why does that matter? Because of malai or milk skin. This stringy, thickened milk that forms a layer on top of milk that's been left out for a little while is, well, nasty. We've considered switching to homogenized milk to mitigate this a bit, but for now, I usually just blow on the drink before taking a sip to move it out of the way. If you're drinking a milk-based drink and it's constantly being heated, this is definitely something to keep in mind.
Let's talk about the tech. The Ember uses dual batteries and a low power heating element to keep your coffee warm. The upside is that you get more runtime, with a full charge getting you a solid 90 minutes, and you don't run the risk of burnout, which 12-volt heated mugs like the Cauldron are more prone to. Place it on the charging coaster and it can go all day. However, if you were looking to heat your coffee up from room temperature, you're going to be waiting a long time and the batteries are not going to like it. To be fair, it just wasn't designed or advertised to do this, so technically it's not a con. The Ember isn't smart just because it connects to an app. It has 4 precision sensors that are constantly working to keep your drink at the perfect temperature, and it can also detect when your cup is empty and turn it off. A convection current is used to circulate your beverage and ensure that the heat is distributed evenly throughout the cup. That's pretty damn cool. A stainless steel core helps the conductivity, and a beautiful ceramic coating gives it aesthetic flair and also prevents the cup from retaining odors. You know that milk skin Namisha was complaining about? Well, we're not 100% sure about the exact science at play here, but our hunch is that the convection current used to circulate the liquid causes the microfoam to dissipate quicker than if your coffee were just allowed to cool down to room temperature. This is what we think results in the formation of the milk skin or lactoderm.
It's 9 a.m. in the morning now, and I'm settled into the workday and have about half a cup of my coffee still left. It's still hot, and the mug is still gently pulsing that calming white light. Things are just as they should be. Interestingly enough, I drink my coffee a little quicker now than I did before I had the Ember. This is because the drink is enjoyable and hot for a lot longer. Whereas with a regular cup, there were diminishing returns to finishing it quickly. After the first few sips, it's never going to be as enjoyable anyway, so I might as well let my drink hang out till about 11 a.m. Gross, I know. But what can I say? I'm a nurser with wine and with coffee. Now, as it gets closer to 9:30, I know at the back of my mind that the Ember is going to be pushed to its limit pretty soon as it manages about 1.5 hours on a full charge. When it runs out of charge, the light changes to red, and weirdly, I find that red light more stressful and unsettling than a lukewarm cup of coffee. And so I finish up the last few sips before we veer into the dangerous territory of the red zone. These last sips always come with a bit of a rude shock, no matter how long I've used the Ember. And that's because the weight and capacity are deceptive, always making you think you have more coffee than you actually do. Why is that? Well, in order to make room for the electronics, the inner chamber that holds the liquid is shorter than the outer casing.
Okay, coming to the user experience. From a functionality standpoint, this thing just works. You put your drink in it, it detects liquid, gets it to its target temperature, and keeps it there. The gentle heating also prevents the coffee flavor from degrading, an unfortunate side effect of reheating coffee that we've all experienced at some point. It does one thing and does it really well while also looking good and feeling really nice to handle and sip from. There are a couple of cons though.
Okay, so when you've let milk-based drinks hang out in a hot mug for so long, cleanup does require more attention. You can't just rinse it out quickly because milk thickens and forms a little crust on the sides. And because my Ember makes its way around the house with me so much, I usually find myself forgetting to charge it or clean it until right before I need it next. Ew, I know. I also need to remind myself to be extra diligent during cleanup to make sure that the water has been dried entirely from the base of the cup before placing it back on the charger. Just remember to have the coaster hanging out at an accessible location, somewhere you either walk past often or is conveniently located when you drink your coffee so that your Ember can be well charged before its next use.
Speaking about charging, it should really have been fully wireless instead of metal contact based. The current design prevents it from being dishwasher safe and requires you to ensure that it's fully dry before placing it back on the charger. What's even more annoying is water gets in these crevices and needs to be blown out to make sure that it's fully dry. This is probably the biggest con with this product.
So now let's move on to my second coffee of the day. With my 3 p.m. pour over, things are a lot more streamlined. No milk, no problems, right? Well, almost. Other than those charging niggles I mentioned earlier. Here, the drink truly tastes the same start to finish and every sip is as delicious. It's also a lot easier to clean up after drinking a black coffee. Pro tip, when you have 2 different types of drinks of the day though, for me a milk-based and then a pour-over, remember to alternate the temperature setting from your phone on the app.
The app is really simple and clean. The process of pairing is straightforward and you're greeted with this large display of the cup's current temperature in the middle here and your target temperature here. You can change your target temperature in 0.5 degrees Celsius increments, and if you go all the way to the left, you can turn the heater off and use it as a regular mug, but why the hell would you do that after spending $130 on a smart mug? Also, if it's empty, you'll see that displayed on the app. You also have the option to create temperature presets to quickly switch based on what you're drinking, and you can even personalize it by setting the color of the RGB light. That's about it. While the Ember mug will work fine straight out of the box without the need for the app, you'll be restricted to the default temperature of 57 degrees centigrade. It would have been nice to be able to change temperature without the need for an app, but we get that that would make the price even more ridiculous. If you really like to savor your cup of coffee and draw out the entire experience, then you will not be disappointed. Yes, the Ember mug is really expensive and the cost is probably not justified, but there's nothing quite like it on the market, at least that we know of. We love it, much like everyone else we've spoken to who owns it. So if you love coffee and have $130 lying around, you know where to spend it. It also makes a great gift, and it's one of those products that you didn't know you needed in your life until you tried it.
Well, that's it for this one, and it's time to wrap it up. But now it's time to hear from you. Do you own the Ember, and how do you use it? Do you test the limits of this gadget like me, or is the use case much simpler? Has it revolutionized your coffee drinking and therefore your life? And do you think it's worth that money? Let us know in the comments below. And as always,
Thank you so much for watching and brew ARAMSE.